So our terminal value will be year 5.
It's 442.
I hope I didn't stop what you were saying, Lillian.
No, you go.
So from year 5 to infinity. Okay, now that we have our, our free cash flow for we'll use year 4's cash flow. So that will be equal to, so what we will have now will be our free cash flow that we are using there. So equal to, so we'll pick that figure, that's 4442, Abi.
Yeah.
And so this is where we should come and be careful and talk about that thing we talked about before.
The growth.
Yes, the growth. So what's our growth now?
3%.
3%.
So we say that growth will be equal to 50, we call it half of, or 50%.
50%.
I want the one that will be clearer to us.
Anyone, half.
Okay, what did they say in the question?
Half.
Okay, so growth. So maybe I'll change this thing now. Growth will be equal to it's half of sales growth. So that is equal to 50% of 6%. Oh, sorry. So that's 3%, and our work
13%.
Yeah, so we just go and pick it there.
Mr. Brian.
Yes, ma.
Please, can you go up a bit? Let me check some.
Okay.
These figures, I'm not sure they are. Can you hear me?
Your free cash flow.
I can hear you.
They are not correct.
These figures are
what did you Yes.
Okay, so
The
maybe because there was a way I was jumping and jumping that I might have made a mistake. So I'll come and correct them now. Okay, so okay, let's remove that. So let's see, because it will affect, or did I pick this one? Yes, I'm hearing you.
This free cash flows, are we not discounting, or this how it's supposed to be?
No, we are not done yet. We want to do our terminal value first before we discount them.
Okay, but that's not what you did yesterday.
I can't remember. Why are you saying that's not what we did?
I thought it discounted was the figure you now used to calculate terminal value.
No. We did terminal value before we discounted. Check.
There was no terminal.
Okay, it was the previous question. There was the Limaco that we discounted.
Limerico, yes.
So if you remember that in Limaco now, let me go. I'm on Limaco now. So you will see our free cash flow here. You see our terminal value was before discounting. It was when we get our terminal value that we now got our free cash flows under that. Can you see?
Okay.
See the free cash flow. Our terminal value is added to the other free cash flows to get the value in the final year. And then we now discount it to present value.
Okay.
All right. So Lillian, okay, you are saying that these figures are wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we have, let me see what we did here. We did this one is the sum of C15 to C20, and there are no figures here. So what's making it wrong? Let me see what this one is. This one is times 28%.
I hope she's not including revenue.
I hope you're not including revenue, true.
Okay, I think.
If you're including revenue, then it's you. It wasn't me. So let me put the revenue underlined so that you will see that revenue is not part of our computation. That one is out. We started from our operating profit. So I feel quite confident that those figures are correct. So we could have put cost of sales here as a balancing figure, or our total cost. So our total cost will now be the balancing figure of that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. You can continue. I understand.
Okay, so maybe what I should also do is to bolding that one so that we know that it's not part of our calculation. So our calculation starts from operating profit down. Okay, so we can move on. Nebi, is that the same thing you are looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So work now. Work. Okay, so for once I'll just be lazy and just come and put the 13% there. I don't seem to have enough space there. Okay, so I think we have everything we need now. So our free cash flow to firm.
I still don't know the reason why you're calculating this terminal value.
Terminal value, they told us, okay, if you read the question now, they said that after the 4th year, the growth rate will be half of the growth rate of the sales. The growth rate of the free cash flows will be half of the growth rate of the sales revenue in perpetuity. Standard procedure is that for valuation, you will usually calculate a terminal value, something that is very normal to calculate. The terminal value is you've valued the company from year 1 to year 4, but the company is in perpetuity now. A company though is not for 4 years. So it's not like a project where you can say the project ended in 4 years. A company doesn't end in 4 years. So yesterday when we are valuing the project using free cash flow methodology. That's why the project ended in 4 years, and they stated explicitly in the question that there will be no renewal of the project after the 4 years. But in this case now we are valuing companies. So the valuation of a project will never be in perpetuity, but the company is in perpetuity. So standard procedure when you're valuing a company, if you know the ones you're setting about, then you can use up to the last point where you're setting, value the company going forward. And then maybe you first have a high growth rate. Usually, there's another formula that is very, very useful for this thing. But it's something that I don't find particularly, it's unnecessarily complex if we're looking at this. So what happens for when you're looking at valuation in context is that usually you have the high growth period and then a period where the growth rate will now stabilize over the longer period, which is perpetuity in this case. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the value of a company is the value of the way we value companies mainly at this level will be we value the company for a particular period where we have a defined values for our free cash flows or for whatever will give us our free cash flows. And then at the end of that high growth period, we'll usually now expect that growth rate will stabilize at a particular rate and then use the value in the final year of that period where we have certain cash flows as an estimation of the figures that will be in the future. So we'll just 1 plus G that figure. That's why we have a 1 plus G to our free cash flow in the 4th year. Alima, do you get what I'm saying?
I get it. Maybe there was
Oh, okay. Okay, so therefore terminal value will be equal to, so we're using that formula. So I'd have preferred to put this thing, and I saw it before. Let me give space for it so that if we need to write anything. So our terminal value will now be equal to our free cash flow 1 plus G so our free cash flow times 1 plus G so that now divided by our WACC minus G. So I hope we have the same values. So 45,759.04, right? So now with that value, we can carry that value up. So we'll have our terminal value. So let me just shift this one a little forward. So we'll have our terminal value as working 5. So in the fourth year now, we just put it in the fourth year. And you don't, even though it's from year 5 to infinity, the beginning of year 5, is the same thing as